If you can commit to creating this organized system of truth from the beginning of the company, you're never going to have those problems. You're never going to be worrying about that. That was a big unlock for me. What is the ROI on my time doing that?
For those smaller construction business owners, what is one piece of advice that you could share with someone that is running their own contracting business?
If the news is tough, but they do believe that I authentically want to see them improve, they're never going to hold on to that pain. They're actually going to be better off for it.
Welcome everyone to this episode. For those of you who don't know, my name is Lev and I'm the founder of Cosmosify, a consulting agency that helps residential contractors break free from the rat race by building wildly profitable businesses with our one-on-one orbit coaching. I'm so excited about our guest today. He's a second-time tech founder and advocate for seeking truth, and I believe also an Italian from Philadelphia. The co-founder and CEO of Guru, Rick Nucci, everyone.
You got all those points right. You got them all right. Nice work. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you, Rick. Rick, I want to dive kind of like right into things. As you are aware, our audience is primarily a group of small to medium-sized business owners. They're first-time founders, and they are owner-operators of their own companies. And so one of the biggest things that contractors struggle with is organization and managing all of the knowledge about their companies. And to be frank, most contractors don't really manage their knowledge. It just kind of lives within the orbit of their brains. So that was a big part of the reason why I wanted to have you on today, because you are in the business of helping companies get their knowledge in order. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yep. And, it's not just the organizing, but it is the long-term positive consequences that happen when you sort of commit to doing that, commit to creating that like source of truth for your business, no matter the size.
Totally. And, so I want you to actually speak a little bit to that. I guess like before we get into the minutia, how did all of this start to begin with?
Yeah, for sure. So this was, as you mentioned, this was my second startup. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Guru, as you said. The company I started before was a company called Boomi, which was ultimately acquired by Dell about 13 years ago, and it was really during that kind of lived experience that. What I mean by that is like living the pain of not having a product like Guru that led my co-founder Mitch and I to start Guru back in 2013, 10 years ago, actually, last month, with a mission to give every team in the world trusted information so they could do their best work. Today, we have just over 2,500 customers across all different kinds of industries, including construction, of course, all with the goal of, improving the efficiency and operations of their business by giving them a single source of truth for their company's information. And so companies like DHL or Etsy, Shopify, Getty Commercial, Rogers O'Brien Construction would be an example of customers we work with.
Super cool. Super cool. And like you said, you've been doing this for long enough to where you've probably seen a lot of the oversights, right? That first-time founders or owner operators kind of have when it comes to standard operating procedure development or just like knowledge in general. I guess in your experience, like what's one big thing that service business owners often miss when they're trying to kind of organize their knowledge in their companies?
Yeah, it's usually like the second thing that I already did kind of stuff, right? We are all as founders and business owners, like we're jumping from the next thing to the next thing, project to project. We're often super busy. We're often overworked, different feelings like that, right? And so the practice of getting your company know-how captured and organized requires you to kind of hit the pause button for a moment and do that, right? And so, well, when does it manifest, right? It manifests like the second time you're doing something. In this business, it might be, working with someone I worked with on a project 6 months ago. And I need to do something again. And there was that thing we did together, but I don't exactly remember what it was. But man, I really need to because we're about to go do this next thing, and I don't want to make that same mistake again, right? So it's usually when you get bit by that a couple of times that you go, you know what, I really need to do this. But it does require a mindset sort of shift and commitment, almost like I'll describe it as almost like a culture of writing. Um, it's like any other habit you build, right? If you spend a couple of minutes a day building the practice, getting into it, if you find a great partner that you worked with in the past and you create a note, if you capture that information about that person, it's there. And then the next time you work with them, you amend it. What went well? What did we do differently? What should we do together next time? What are they really good at? Just one example, right? But you start doing that and you start realizing you have a system. And when you have a system, you just get better. And as you start adding employees to your team, they learn faster and they get better. And you start to see this true, well, I said it earlier, is like operational health, but it truly can be a direct contributor to any business's ability to scale, move faster, do more with less, whatever kind of goal you might have, it can be a really meaningful contributor.
Right. And that's a really good point. I think that you used one word that kind of stuck out to me, and that's commitment, right? It's the commitment to making that change within the company, within your business. Some problems, I guess, like that construction founder specifically faces kind of creating a system for how they, create estimates, they bid jobs, they find employees and laborers and even market themselves, right? So most founders, though, that they have a tough time kind of making time for themselves to create that structure. How have you seen founders overcome this and shift that frame that you were just kind of talking about?
Yeah. Usually it is, I was saying this before, usually it is born through pain. I wish I had a better answer because what is the ROI on my time doing that? Right. That's the question anyone's going to ask. Why would I bother writing this thing down when I could just jump to the next thing and get another client or another project or something else going? Right. Usually what we see is like one of two things. I gave the example before of like, oh, you know what? We have done enough projects now, worked with enough partners, tried this marketing thing on our own and struggled with it. We need a better way, right? So that's one mindset. The other mindset is kind of the consequence of not having it from a more of a digital perspective. And what I mean by that is the conversations we'll hear are, yeah, I have an inbox full of stuff, emails, I can't manage it, but in there's like all this valuable stuff, or we'll all try to use documents, Google, Microsoft document suites, right? And it'll be something like, I just have all this stuff scattered everywhere. And like, I can't really find things. And then like, when I do find things, I can't tell if it's right. And like, I need to like stop the madness, right? Like I need to stop the madness. And it's usually like, because I have something important happening. I'm anticipating some growth in my business, or I'm bringing on some new team members into my business, or I'm going to be working with a new set of clients, and there's some sort of compelling event in the business. It's like, you know what, I need to do this. So that's why I come back to and I say, the sooner you figure it out and the sooner you do it, like anything, any sort of like self-improvement, company improvement thing, the sooner you do it, way easier, exponentially easier it is, right? If you can commit to creating this organized system of truth, from the inception of the company, from the beginning of the company, you're never going to have those problems. You're never going to be worrying about that. You might even take it for granted because you never actually had that problem. But yeah, it's usually one of those two things. Like some pain I felt in a mistake I made with a project, or dealing with digital chaos, and I'm overwhelmed right now. I have to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And well said too. Rick, I mean like the personal necessity side of it, like that's really what interests me because look, you're a second time founder. Um Obviously like you have experienced business owners from all across the industries, like I mean all over the place, right? Um but given that you said that this was from what I understand, this was born from a place of personal necessity. Like you kind of found that if you could solve this problem for yourself, maybe this could also help other, entrepreneurs or business owners. Tell me a little bit about that story.
Yeah, absolutely. We were living the pain of not having this product at my last company, and it showed up in a couple of ways. But I would say the biggest way that it showed up was around two areas. The first one I would just call questions and answers. So across the company, we are hiring employees. Uh, and I saw team members getting asked the same questions over and over and over again. And even worse, I saw us giving answers that were not quite consistent over and over again because we were answering them bespoke, right? We were sort of like, oh, yeah, maybe it was about a competitor, or maybe it was about a certain partner we were working with. And we were talking about them, but we weren't quite saying it the same way each time. And we weren't saying it the same way to each person the same time, and you just sort of felt that inconsistency show up. Losing a deal that we should have won, a customer getting upset because we weren't giving them the right accurate information, right? So that I'd sort of bucket all of that around redundant Q&A problems of just like, how do you get consistent information, captured and shared? And then the other one, this business that I was in was, we it was a software company, so we're creating software products and we're selling them to other companies. And this one I would call uh, broadly operational effectiveness, but in this case, it was like making our new products successful, because every time we were releasing a new thing, releasing a new capability, improving our product, there was knowledge around that was like quite vital, right? It was, imagine you work really hard on creating something, you release it out to the world. Well, what has to happen for it to actually be something that generates revenue for you? Your sales team needs to understand how it works so they know how to position and talk about it. Your support team needs to know how to respond to issues when customers show up and are saying, hey, this doesn't work. This seems like it might be a bug, right? And we were wanting to get better at releasing. By better, I mean release more things faster and have
Mm.
that rapid pace of change be possible. But what we realized was it was really the knowledge and communication of what we were doing that became the problem, not the actual building of the capabilities. That we got pretty good at, but we weren't keeping the team informed. And because of that, it just sort of dragged down the effectiveness of all the product work we were doing. And so
Wow.
I'm sort of describing that as operational effectiveness, but it's really like you think about the machine of your business and what you want it to be, no matter what you do. You'll see these knowledge problems show up in all these different pockets in the company. It'll show up in different ways, but you'll feel it in this drag. You'll feel like you're wasting time. You'll feel like you're paying a tax on productivity. The business will feel slower. You'll feel frustrated, right? Those are the emotions that we were feeling. We were like, why is this happening? And then we tried to find products in the market to solve it, and we tried a bunch of them. A lot of them didn't work. A lot of people just wouldn't use them. And we said, you know what? We think we can actually solve this problem. So
Mm.
let's sort of start a company and build a product that really just focuses on this. And that sort of led us to Guru.
And that's a powerful point there too, because look, the adoption piece I think is so important because ease of use, right? That's one big part of adoption. What gets people excited to actually use it. For those of you who are watching this who haven't actually experienced the Guru platform, something really cool about the platform and how you're able to organize knowledge in there is by way of Rick, something that you guys have created called cards, right? Guru cards. And these are kind of, in my experience, right? Micro pieces of knowledge, right? Just this is how you set up your truck when you get out in the morning. This is how you, talk to new prospects, like on an initial call, right? Like there's different categories that you can kind of create within the Guru platform itself, and it is fully custom tailored to your business and the type of processes and operations that you kind of have in place. Did I miss anything there? Is that kind of like consistent with what you guys have created?
You nailed it. You nailed it. And I would just say, like, there's a thing when you build products like this, which is like you are technical users using your product or non-technical users using product. 70% of our users are non-technical users. Only 30% of our customers are in, the tech vertical, software companies, big tech, right? The rest are all different verticals. As we have construction companies, but we have dental offices, we have universities, we have, and so from the beginning we were like, look, if we can't make something that is really effortless and easy to use, anything else we want to do is just sort of academic, right? If we can't prove that people will build habits around wanting to come in and make it easy, and that led us to concepts you pointed out like cards. It led us out to say, hey, you even opening up a document, it's kind of intimidating. You have a gazillion file menu options. You have all of these things, right? Like, that's one problem. I'll give you one other quick example. And so a card is a very simple, streamlined, small, short, right? It's meant to be like, keep it simple, capture your thoughts. The other thing we said from the beginning is also we're working in different places, and maybe you'll have a thought about something you want to write down while you're working on an email. Well, we also built this browser plugin idea where you can actually put Guru right inside your web browser. So as you're thinking about something, you can just open it up without having to change what you're doing, pull up that card as you were just describing it, and capture your information right there. And so all of these like little things we wanted to do are really, to your point, to just making it a very easy, wanted to make the like barrier to adoption as low as we possibly could. Because if not, the products like this just live and die by adoption. And so it was just something.
Love that. Love that. And it shows because like you said, 2,500 plus customers later, the product is not only being used, but it's loved. Like I was kind of saying, we work with construction businesses. That's like that's our jam, right? One of our we call them partners, but clients, right? That we work with actually adopted Guru a little while back, and it has had the biggest effect on internal communication. Like it's been unbelievable how many questions do not get asked anymore on an internal basis just because of the fact that there is an internal, you've probably heard it, like a Google for your business, right? All things related to my company, I can basically run a search on it within Guru and find everything that I need to know about this process and how to do this thing. And that kind of helps out with onboarding employees, right? So we're not spending as much manual time like running your wheels over and over saying the same thing again. And so the impact of that has been incredible. I do want to kind of transition though, because there's been a key change that's happened over the last, I think we can officially say it's been a year now. But obviously the introduction of artificial intelligence, AI, ChatGPT, all these buzzwords, right? But I guess given that Guru now has its own AI integration, how do you see AI impacting companies that are building their knowledge bases?
Yeah, really great question. I'll share kind of three things we're starting to see within our product sort of come to life. Let's sort of keep your internal comms one going there for a second, because that's a really great story and a really great one to hear. One of the things that has become exceptionally simple to do now is language translation. So if you are collaborating with employees, coworkers, partners that speak in other native languages, you don't have to actually write the content in Guru in more than one language. You can write it in your native language. So let's say it's English, and let's say you're collaborating with someone whose native language is Spanish, and maybe they read English, but they'd prefer if they could. What's really amazing now is you can open up that card that we've been talking about, and you can say, show this to me in Spanish, and it will just do that for you on the fly and do that quite effectively. And we are baking in, I think many of us have probably heard of or explored or played with ChatGPT, which you said about a year ago. I mean, OpenAI really kind of brought to life this next wave and momentum of generative AI that we're now seeing. We have actually built that deeply into our product in several areas. But that was one good one. The second one, you talked earlier about, hey, some of us are we're not marketers by trade, and we're not necessarily good at or thinking about how to market ourselves or describe ourselves That's another amazing area around AI because now, whether it's in Guru or there are many tools that do this part of it, but imagine going in and saying like, all right, I'm going to describe what I do, but I don't know how to do that in a way, or I'll speak personally, like I don't know how to do that in a way that might be, punchy or easy to consume or something you might put in an ad or advertise your business. But I do know how to talk about what I think we're pretty good at. And so now you can sort of write some bullets, some rough text, right, that might describe that. And then you can pull in, we call it assist in our product, but again, there's other ways to do this. Um, you know, literally, the more words you use, the better this will be. But something like this is an advertisement I want to create about my business. Use this information I provided you and create something that doesn't have jargon, that is easy to read, and if there's a length restriction, whatever, right? And you just say that, and it will generate that for you, and it's quite exceptional at doing that, right? And the more you use and the more language you use, maybe you want it to be lighthearted, maybe you want it to be serious. You say all of that, it will do it for you, and it's quite good at that. And then the third example I'll give, which you were referring to earlier, is, hey, the benefit of Guru is there are just less questions across the company. It doesn't mean people aren't talking to each other, but their conversations are quite different because the redundant, simple Q&A stuff now just gets handled by Guru. Well, the other really meaningful thing that AI now enables is what used to be enter some search terms, right? Think about how we use Google. We put in search terms, we get back a whole bunch of results. We start going through the results to find what we want. You can actually do an AI-driven Q&A now. So you can ask a question in natural language describing what you want to Guru. Guru will go across all of your content. It will find the information. It will assemble it, but then it will actually bring it back to you as a suggested answer. So what used to be this kind of search and fish around for the answer and find it, now is a question and answer actually being driven by Guru. As the business owner, you can see all those questions and answers that are going around. So if you want to change an answer or improve it, you can of course do that. But Guru is able to just like level up that conversation. So AI has been, as you heard by my examples, quite consequential to the work we do. I think it is broadly across tech, but I think for our work, it's been frankly pretty transformative. And so I'm really excited about how we can level up the value we can provide to our customers.
And it's already evident, right? Like I've experienced it firsthand. I've already heard about the experiences that other folks have kind of had in using Assist and using the different AI tools that are integrated within Guru already, and also all the other ones that are out there. Let's give a shout out to them too, right?
Of
But
course.
I think that Rick, like you touched on a lot of points that I think the contractors, the construction business owners that are watching this will kind of have a point, just a couple of points to kind of start mulling over in their minds, right? Because you covered a ton of content. You shared a good amount of stories in our time today. Um, and I do want to, because since we have talked about, so much of the technical, I kind of want to transition it a little bit over because you have worked intimately with all kinds of business owners, right? In all different types of niches, verticals, tiny business, the mom and pops, and then you've also worked with the enterprise, massive, seed investors, this and that, right? I guess for this audience, for those smaller construction business owners who are just breaking past that 7-figure mark, whatever the case may be, what is one piece of advice that you could share with someone that is running their own contracting business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I will stick with the AI topic, honestly. And of course it's top of mind. We just talked about it. But the reason why I want to mention it is expressly because what is happening right now is AI is becoming accessible to those of us that are non-developers. Such as me, such as most of us, listening to this conversation right now. That's kind of the point. What used to be an extremely technical field of technology that was only able to be used by data scientists, was very hard to understand, was very technical, um, has now become something that uh, literally in a few minutes you can go to openai.com for free, create a chat experience, start having conversations, start asking it questions about help with marketing or whatever it might be, start asking it to translate things for you, and you will immediately see the opportunity. And what that does is it creates that light bulb moment where you then start to go, oh, well, I have this problem at work. Cool, I think it could help me here. Because that's the whole point. The technology is irrelevant, right? What matters is that you can see how it can actually help you do your work better. And that's the only reason technologies stay around and matter, right? Is they help us solve problems, right? Well, the real magic thing I think that's going on right now in AI is that um, you can do that connection between technology and problem easier than maybe any technological change I've seen in my career, certainly. And I think it can and is. You're starting to see the early stories come out be quite transformative. And I'm not just talking about stuff that happens in our product at Guru. I am saying as a whole, even in your personal life, it is just quite amazing. And so it's not like I'm saying you have to go read about how all this stuff works technically, but you can start trying these things immediately for free and seeing them for yourself. And I would say that you'll see that spark that so many have and how it can help your business run better.
Absolutely. Yeah, great point. I think that for those of you who are listening right now and you haven't experienced artificial intelligence yet or use an AI solution like I'm going to plug Guru here, right? For your own knowledge management, or even like OpenAI's ChatGPT. I think that it's an encouragement to hear from Rick himself, you know, somebody who has served and is serving as a chief technology officer at a technology company, that like this is the future. And if we are taking steps in the present, right, in order to create knowledge around the companies that we're building so that they can be that much more scalable and that much more fluid. I think it's just going to be a net benefit to not only ourselves, not only our employees and team members, but also the customers, right? The customers who experience us. Because if we're more polished, they get to experience a more polished version of us. And that ultimately just creates a better experience all around, not only on the business side, but just personal. We all like feeling good about things. So, um, I think
Amen.
I kind of put a bow on it, right?
You did. You nailed it. Yes. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. Because the way you said that was there's a lot of talk about us versus AI replacing jobs. It's really what you said. It's when you bring this stuff into your work, it doesn't replace you. It makes you better. It makes you more effective. It allows you to do more with the hours you have, and that's really, I think, the point and the exciting part. So I
Ah,
think
totally.
you nailed it. Yeah, yeah.
I'm an efficiency geek, so I love it. um, Rick, I appreciate it a ton. We went over a ton of like business related questions, and I think this has been super impactful. Also, to just this audience specifically, I don't know if you've talked to an audience of contractors before, or even somebody in like the contracting space, but I can speak on behalf of everyone. We seriously appreciate it a ton. I did want to ask just two personal things before we wrap the interview, and then we'll say conversation. But yeah, two things. I think the biggest thing for me is like I know about you that you are really big on self-awareness. That's kind of like been like one of the biggest keys that has helped you unlock, I guess, the leveling up within business. Um, I guess just kind of to that point, what is one of the biggest beliefs that you feel like you had to break about yourself or about business to get to the level that you're at now as a second time founder?
Yeah. I would say this is sort of like internally with my employees, people I work with, also customers, though. Communicating with radical candor. Radical candor is an actual phrase, is an actual book written about this stuff. But it's really the idea that candor is one of the greatest ways to help others around you be better, right? And feedback's the best example, right? Like we all want to get feedback, and I think being, the reason why they use the word radical is, both things are true. I care deeply about you, and I want to also challenge you directly. And I think when anybody feels that both of those things are true, it's great. Either one of them is actually quite terrible, right? If I'm going to challenge you directly and I don't care about you. Well, you're just going to sound like a jerk, right? If I care about you, but I don't challenge you directly, they call that ruinous empathy, right? I'm not actually helping you at all. I'm actually doing real harm to you because I'm actually making you believe that everything's fine, but actually I have these thoughts I'm just not sharing with you. That was a big unlock for me. I think every human will tend to skew one or the other when you self inventory and really reflect on yourself. I would make mistakes on the ruinous empathy side. So I had experiences early in my career where I would say things, I would give feedback to others, and I would realize the weight of my words as a founder of a company to employees. And I overreacted to that and pulled back and would say, oh, well, I don't want to, ruin this person's day. When really what I needed to do and what I later learned and adopted was the idea of like, it's okay. Like if the news is tough, but they do believe that I authentically want to see them improve, they're never gonna hold on to that pain. They're actually going to be better off for it. I've always been better off for any time someone gave me radical candor. I've always genuinely appreciated it. So I'd say that's one of the biggest examples for me that is it's a work in progress, like maybe we all are, but like I'd say was a huge unlock for sure.
That is huge. No, totally huge. Because you don't want to be either either side of the extremes necessarily, right?
Exactly. Either side of streams. Like I said, you don't want to be the jerk. You don't want to be the person who's just not saying anything, right? So it's a balance. Both have to be true, right? But I think when you sort of click that, it's an unlock. At least it was for me.
Huge, super huge. Well, Rick, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk with me and our audience of contractors. For those of you who want to connect with you and get a deeper look at what you have going on, I know you like to hang out on Twitter. Is that right?
Really, LinkedIn is where I do spend most of my time. So yeah, you can definitely find me there. Rick Nucci. I'm pretty easy to find, the Italian Philadelphia guy, as you said in the beginning. I do share a lot of thoughts, and I do love to hear from people and connect with people there. So that'd probably be the best way.
Super cool. That is where I connected with Rick as well. So check him out on LinkedIn. Read what he posts on there. Always super informative. Just a plug for Rick. Guru is, the collaborative knowledge management solution behind the next generation of knowledge workers. If you have a hard time finding the knowledge you need to do your job, documents, best practices, and tribal know-how, it might be time to bring Guru into your organization. So contractors, if you're listening to this, which you are, it would be a good idea to maybe check out getguru.com so you can learn a little bit more about how you can start managing all of your company knowledge all in one place. And that is pretty much it. Rick, I don't think I missed anything. You got anything to finish off?
No, that was great. Thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed the chat.
Enjoyed it. You have a great one, Rick, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.